A 16-year-old suspected car thief blamed for a crash that killed one person and injured two others. Cobb Police say they were chasing the teen but then stopped soon after he crashed. John Sherrick is looking into this for us tonight.
A violent three-car collision Tuesday night involving a stolen car and a police chase that was cut short moments before the wreck, police say. Cobb County Police have a strict pursuit policy, and generally officers are not allowed to chase stolen cars unless they think someone's life may be in danger. Otherwise, the officers can try to pull over the stolen cars but not chase them. Tuesday night, they say they spotted a stolen car, a 2014 Nissan Altima like this one. They say they spotted the stolen Nissan just off of South Gordon Road and started to try to pull it over. But they say the driver sped away and turned onto Mableton Parkway, speeding downhill toward the Chattahoochee River and Fulton County, and Cobb Police stopped chasing him. Mableton Parkway is a busy four-lane state highway with a center turn lane. And moments after police stopped chasing the car, they say the driver tried to pass someone and crossed into oncoming traffic, then crashed head-on into another vehicle, and then a third vehicle was caught up in the wreck. This was not much more than a mile from where police first spotted the suspected stolen car. The driver, the suspected car thief, 16 years old, survived. His passenger was killed. The drivers of the other two cars survived. Cobb County Police investigating the car theft and the collision, not commenting on whether the department's pursuit policy would have justified chasing a stolen car if officers thought lives might be in danger if they let it go. But as it is, Cobb Police are allowed to chase people suspected of violent crimes, such as murder or even carjacking, but not usually suspected car thieves. And not apparently a suspected car thief who also turned out to be a 16-year-old reckless and dangerous driver.